Hello my lovely viewer, I am back once again with American science fiction film called Io. Watch the full video to find out the interesting part and take care. The film begins with narration by a young woman named Sam Walden. She describes the state of the Earth and how the planet's atmosphere became unsuitable for humans. According to her, Exodus, a mission to colonize Jupiter's satellite, was launched, involving thousands of spaceships. In the beginning, we see Sam in an abandoned warehouse, wearing a filter mask and other special suits, retrieving a valve. As she stuffs the valve into her bag, she notices something strange about the water on the floor. She then logs into her audio recorder and reports on the activity of small larvae in the water. She uses a lighter to test the toxicity of the atmosphere, which she claims is extremely toxic. She then collects some water samples for testing. Later, Sam exits the warehouse and walks down the street. She notices how the colors of the plants change while she is there. Suddenly, her breathing device beeps, indicating that her oxygen is running low, so she dashes to her vehicle and refills the oxygen. Then Sam drives through beautiful scenery until she reaches her destination. She must pass through a sanitizing booth on her way to her base. It also appears that she is not required to wear any masks in order to breathe inside the base. Sam then showers and sends a message to her boyfriend, Elon, who lives in a space station close to Io. Sam tells Elon about the discoveries she's made thus far, such as new species surviving in the atmosphere. Following this, Elon responds to Sam, praising her for her discoveries and advising her to leave Earth as soon as possible with her father. Elon also mentioned that the last pocket of air on Earth is running out, so she'll have to take one of the Exodus flights. Later, Sam is seen going about her daily lab activities, which include checking on her bees, plucking vegetables, and observing other planets through a telescope at night. The next day, while Sam is watching beekeeping lectures on YouTube, she is interrupted by a beep sound from her computer. When she rushes to check the notification, she discovers that it is a message from Elon, who reveals the current status of the New World expedition by the authorities in Io. He also claims that they've discovered planets that are nearly identical to Earth. Sam also double-checks the departure time of the last Exodus shuttle, which is exactly 4 days away. Sam is reading the message when the computer screen shuts down just as she finishes. Sam then gets in her car and drives away, frustrated. In the following scene, Sam visits a library to obtain another piece of the monitor. She discovers a mythology book with the same cover as a picture she's seen elsewhere. When Sam is at the library, she notices something strange happening in the distance. She rushes out to her lab when she notices a massive storm approaching. Fortunately, she is able to reach a safe location. The next morning, while Sam is having her recurring dream about spending time on a beach, she abruptly wakes up and is concerned about the bees and her lab as a result of the storm's aftermath. She continues to check and is heartbroken over the loss of her bee colony. Frustrated, she writes to Elon and describes her current situation. She also claims that even if she agrees to join her father on the Exodus mission, they will never make it in time due to their oxygen-carrying capacity. Following that, as Sam investigates the devastation caused by the massive storm, a helium balloon appears near her base. Micah, a man, emerges from the balloon's cabinet, asking for some water. Sam eventually brings him a mug of water. Micah is concerned about the color of the water, but Sam assures him that the cloudiness is due solely to the presence of the charcoal she used for filtering. Micah appears to be there to meet Dr. Walden. Micah then demands that Sam take him to Dr. Walden's location, which Sam denies. Sam shows Micah his room for the night while discussing Dr. Walden. When Sam plays one of Dr. Walden's recordings, Micah suspects that the doctor has been gone for more than 2 days. He is also suspicious of Sam's response regarding Dr. Walden's whereabouts. Sam, on the other hand, dismisses Micah for the night and retires to bed. When Sam wakes up the next morning, she notices an unusual sound outside. When she approaches to see what was going on, she discovers Micah attempting to repair the windmill that had been destroyed by the storm. Later, they talk about it, and Sam asks Micah if she thinks her relationship with Elon is absurd. Micah, on the other hand, claims that it's human nature to want someone so badly. Sam eventually reveals that Dr. Harry Walden is her father, which surprises Micah and causes him to laugh. Sam later shows Micah around. She pays for all of her and her father's food production, as well as some efforts to restore the Earth's atmosphere to normal. Micah notices Sam's tattoos and inquires as to their meaning. When Sam describes her tattoos, she is asked about the scars in her ribcage, which Sam mentions as part of their research to boost immunity. Later that night, Sam and Micah watch a video of Lucy, a pig who can walk freely in toxic air without any respiration support. Meanwhile, the video is cut short by a clip of Dr. Walden on an interview on some TV show. Sam then exits the room and goes to check her email inbox, which is empty. The next day, Micah breaks into Dr. Walden's bedroom and is confronted by Sam. Micah then inquires about Sam's mother and how she died as a result of Dr. Walden's decision to remain on Earth. Hearing this, Sam is upset. Micah is also agitated, so he breaks into Dr. Walden's office to find out the truth, but he is surprised to see that it hasn't been used in a long time. Sam eventually admits that her father has been dead for a year and takes Micah to the doctor's graveyard. Micah insists that Sam join him on the Exodus shuttle to leave Earth after learning the truth, to which Sam reluctantly agrees. Sam then inquires as to when they will depart, to which Micah responds, soon. Micah adds that because they don't have enough time, they should work on their travel route. As part of their preparation, Micah measures the wind direction. Later that night, Sam checks her inbox again, but there are no messages from Elon. She also goes through Micah's backpack, curious as to how he managed to survive alone for so long while Micah is setting fire to the field outside. She then sends Elon a message in which she describes her current situation, agrees to board the Exodus shuttle, and promises to see him soon. She also expresses a desire to visit oceans if they exist on Centauri B. Micah assists Sam in transporting the hive the next day, while Sam is extracting honey from the ruins of the bees' colony. Meanwhile, when Micah inspects another hive to transport, he is surprised to discover something unusual in one of the hives. He then rushes over to Sam, telling her she won't believe what he saw. Sam also joins Micah in his investigation of the hive. Later that night, while Sam is watching some TV clips, she receives a notification on her computer. Elon has finally sent her a message. He expresses his delight that Sam has decided to board the Exodus shuttle for Io. He also reveals that he has been chosen to join the first New World Expedition shuttle on a 10-year journey to Centauri B. Sam is devastated to learn that Elon has abandoned her for the journey. Elon also mentions that this will be their final conversation because the transmission channel will be shut down soon. After learning all of this, a distraught Sam bursts into tears. Meanwhile, Micah approaches Sam and offers to make squash spaghetti for her. Sam asks Micah about the Earth before all of this happened while he is preparing dinner. Sam takes a shower immediately following dinner, while Micah reads his book. Then Sam approaches Micah and kisses him. Micah hesitates at first, but eventually kisses her back. They have a kiss. Sam then writes to Elon, revealing that her decision to stay on Earth was her own, not her father's, as he is no longer alive. Micah screams in agony, claiming that they don't have enough helium to fly to the new launch site. Then he blames Sam's father for everything that has happened and how they were told to stay on Earth. Micah also blames Dr. Walden for the deaths of dozens of people due to starvation. When Sam hears this, tells Micah where they can get the helium they require. However, she adds that they must stay overnight in order to collect the helium. Micah responds that they can't stay in the infected zone for long because they don't have enough oxygen. Sam counters that they will have to do so and adds that it is either adapt or die. She then suggests that everyone leave the planet because there is no hope of survival left. Following that, Sam and Micah devise a strategy for gathering the helium required for the journey. Sam turns off the light in her enclave just before they set out on their journey. They arrive at the helium collection location after a brief journey. They stay for the night, just as they had planned. They later fitted their last remaining oxygen cylinder. The next morning, they begin filling the balloon with helium, while Sam plans to visit a location, leaving Micah to complete the task. After Sam leaves Micah, his oxygen suddenly runs low, so he goes to find her. He eventually found Sam staring at an ancient painting after some searching. Micah then rushes to inform Sam that it is time for them to leave the planet. Sam, however, informs him that she will not be accompanying him. she tells him about her recurring dream. Suddenly, Sam informs Micah of her intention to risk her life by determining whether or not there is life on Earth. Sam intends to remove his mask and do so. Micah forbids Sam from taking the steps, but a determined Sam removes her mask and is seen unharmed. Sam's body appears to have adapted to the new environment and is immune to the toxic atmosphere. Finally, Sam narrates a message she wrote for Micah in which she states she is now on a beach enjoying the moment from her dream and hopes to see him soon. Subscribe for more videos like this, switch on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel.